Welcome back to Line by Golf. I'm your host, Ross McGuire. In this episode, I'm thrilled to be joined by Lloyd Saltman. Lloyd is one of the greatest talents that I've seen come through in Scottish golf for a long number of years. He was a fantastic amateur, he had a very good professional career, and these days he's coaching. In this episode, we'll hear about how he got into golf, some amazing stories about his progress in the game, tournaments that he played in, results that he had, and just the fun and enjoyment that he's had along his career. So without any further delay, let's go over to Lloyd. Welcome to the show, Lloyd Saltman. Lloyd, it's great to see you. How you been?
I'm good. Thank you. Thanks for having me on. I'm looking forward to getting a good chat and seeing where it goes.
Yeah, it's been a while. Been a long time.
Yes.
But where I start the podcast, Lloyd, is literally where are you from and how did you get into golf?
So I'm from pretty much Edinburgh. I live in East Lothian now. Played most of my golf down in East Lothian. I started off playing when my father, mum and dad really got us into it, just kind of let us play all sports. Used to live on a farm, so we'd whack balls, play rugby, play football with my brothers, ride motorbikes, ride horses. And really a big thing my dad was always quite big on was he was like, if you can turn your hobby into your job, that's a great thing. So I think gave us a chance to play loads of sports, and golf seemed to be the one that really caught us and got us kind of really excited about, trying to play the game and improve. So
yeah, absolutely. And I mean, what a player you became. So what were the early experiences like? Where did you start actually playing the game?
First round of golf was at, I say first round, it was about 6 holes. It was at West Linton before I got tired and went, I can't bother playing anymore. My big brother was playing. My dad never played. He's absolutely terrible. He can throw it further than he can hit it, to be honest. Zach tried to give him some lessons the last few years, but we went and played at Gleneagles together, and he was like, I've had enough of this. So he stopped. He didn't really play too much, but he got us in.
Brilliant.
Played at West Linton. I was about 8 years old when I played my first round of golf. I remember being at the farm, and Elliot said to me, if the golf club won't let you get on the course unless you can hit it further than this part in one of the fields we had. And I stood out there for hours just whack it. And then I did it. I came running and I said, I hit it down past that part of the fence. And he was like, almost as if saying, what are you talking about? And I was like, you told me how to hit that far. He's like, I just made that up. So I was like, thanks, Elliot. So I think that's probably where my competitiveness started from, with him doing that. And then we went and played. I played 6 or 7 holes. And then, just gradually my dad would take me back. And we just played from there, really. And then the first club, Alec joined Liberton when I was 11, so Alec would be 14, but I couldn't get in. I was too young. So we've been playing little bits and bobs. I mean, obviously it's changed these now. It's good to see clubs letting kids in, really early. Back then it wasn't. So we got into Prestonfield at 12. It was the first time I could become a member.
That was the first time you became a member? You were 12?
Yeah, 12. Yeah, no handicap. So I was 12. First handicap I got was 20. And
wow.
You know what? It was actually Elliot's first handicap he got, I think, as well. He got 10 at 15.
That's incredible.
So we'd played a bit. We'd been playing a bit, but we used to play at like Vogray or wherever we could play, really. It was just wherever we could get a game. So yeah, that was there. And then we joined a friend of ours at the time, Stephen Buckley, who was the Scottish Boys champion. Stephen was a member of Kilspindie and took us down.
Right.
We went down the winter. We played, and it was like, wow, this is different. Playing off links turf and no winter greens. So we joined. We spoke to the people there. We joined, and we kept Pressfield on, but my dad would pick me up from school, and we'd go. Used to go to Prestonfield on a half day Friday, but then it kind of got to the point where saying, can we go down to Kilspindie? And Dad's like, yeah, fine. So then we ended up saying there's not really much point for Prestonfield. So we became junior members at Kilspindie, and I played there till Craigielaw opened, actually. Yeah, and then I left at Kilspindie and went to Craigielaw.
Wow, I didn't realise that.
Mm-hmm. So Craigielaw was going to be Kilspindie number 2. And then there were, I think, problems with the road, Weems and March Estate, and they ended up saying, you know what, we're going to make a new club. So Craigielaw became its own individual. And the great thing for us was I was a member of Kilspindie, no range, just the golf course. Good putting green, great putting green, actually, but no chipping green at that time either. So it was literally play golf and putt. And then Craigielaw was going to have the big range and the par 3 course.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is for me.
And it's well, maybe not for you, but it's Craigielaw I found very tough when I played it. It's a real challenge, isn't it?
Totally. It was totally different golf as well, because Kilspindie was great. I think, growing up playing at Kilspindie was great because it kind of taught you to score low, if you like, because it's quite short. I think, one spell I was off +3 or something in the junior medals. The center scratch was 5 below before you teed off, and I thought, I'm not sure I should be maybe going out here to play a junior medal.
It's not doing your handicap any favours.
7 under for buffer. I was thinking this isn't good. I did teach you to kind of score low, I think. So, and then go to Craigielow and it became a great thing. But yeah, that was kind of how we got into it. To kind of start playing that was just down to mum and dad really giving us opportunities, and then all the brothers. Well, Zach came in a little bit later actually. They kind of let him just. He wasn't really too fussed at the start, but Elliot and I were keen. I think I was, Elliot was good quickly, and I kind of thought, yeah, I need to try and beat you. So that was my goal really, was trying to beat him.
Yeah, and I was going to ask, so you moved there, I think you said you were 12 when you started getting your first membership. What kind of age did you notice that you were coming on quite a bit compared to other people?
I think maybe around sort of 14, 15, I think. I remember going to Craig Miller Park for some junior qualifying thing that was like I don't know, like the Daily Mail or something, if I remember. And Elliot was obviously still he was still a junior, but he'd be like 18, and there'd be other guys his age about, and they all saying, if we qualify, you get to go here. And I was like, oh, I'm going to qualify. And they're like, yeah, nice one, Lloyd. Also, I was quite wee till I was about 17. I was small. I never grew till I was about 17. So they're all like, no bother, Lloyd. And then I went and won. And I thought, that kind of gave me a bit like, I like that. That was good. And competed with the older guys. But it was always easier because, as I say, with having the brothers there, you're always competitive, and then having Elliot, who was always 6'4", I think, as long as I can remember. And you were just playing to compete against him all the time anyway. So it didn't faze me or anything. Even like when we were kids playing rugby, I was trying to tackle Elliot, and then I'm going against kids my size, and I thought, well, this is all right. These kids are normal size. So it was always
your brother. I'll just say your brother's a unit. For those that have never met him, he's a big lad.
He was. So that was kind of probably when I thought. But to be honest, I would say quite quickly, quite early on playing golf, I thought I want to do this. I thought this is what I want to do for a job. Yeah, I'd say I think about sort of 13, 14. I thought I'd like to do this. I want to be a golfer. I want to be a professional golfer. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you start. I mean, you're obviously doing well in different events, but you of course started playing for Scotland and ultimately GB&I. So what were some of the experiences you had there?
I mean, amazing. Just to get into that, I listened to the one you had with Pete, and I was listening obviously. It was going to give me the shout out. He was a great lad, Pete, and he's mentioned about being at Drummoy when I was a bit unhappy that I wasn't selected for the under-16s team, and I was first reserve, which obviously I made apparent to him. I can't remember saying that to him, but obviously did. It was great, I mean, I won the Scottish Boys at 17. I got in the quadrangular team, the 6-man Scotland team, when I was 17, and then that year I won the Scottish Boys. Just getting picked for that, I was doing well in the Lothians and things, and doing, put my name in international events, kind of doing well. And when I got picked, I was, that was amazing. I remember going to like Scottish Boys, and you would see Graham Gordon, David Ingles with the red lion on their heel of their shoe, and the waterproofs, or even seen the Walker Cup boys who were going to events. If I eventually got into like Lytham and thinking, I really like those waterproofs. I quite fancy a set of those myself. So when seeing that, and then obviously you get picked and your kick starts coming through, and it's just, it's actually a great time of your life, because you're getting to go away with friends who you golf with, and you're competing against the best at your age, and you're going to get playing golf in different countries. I hadn't played abroad before until I got in the Scotland team, so it was a big experience, and just something that was great. And it kind of it drives you forward again, because you think, what, I really want to be here. And then you see you can stand up to these people and beat them, and you think, I can do this, I think. So,
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you won some big amateur tournaments as well, and you were pretty young. So did you win the Lytham Trophy?
Yeah, so it was kind of 2005 was the kind of kick on year for me. So I'd kind of had a goal set with my coach at the time, Colin Brooks, and my dad. We sat down, we'd do this, and we would basically say, this is what we want to do. And our kind of long-term goal was at 21, I wanted to play Walker Cup in Turnpro. That was the kind of long-term goal. We set this up at, I think I'm maybe even a junior when I set this up at 17. That was the vision. And then 19, I'd won the boys. So I'd won a couple of things. And then I went to play in the Brabazon down at the Oxfordshire. I was playing really well that year, but kind of just not getting it done. And I was playing too aggressively. And I had a conversation with Mum and Dad in the airport in Ireland. And Richie Ramsey had won. And all the boys, we'd all went out that night. And so Mum and Dad had stayed. I went to stay with the boys, and we went out and partied with Richie because he'd won, which was great. And then we were sitting in the airport, and we're talking about that week. And I'd said, my mum says it's quite stressful watching you play golf, Lloyd, because you miss the green here and you miss the green there, and you're really close to the flag, but you've got hard chip, and it's just hit the middle of the green. I was like, well, maybe. And Dad was like, you know what? I think that's not a bad strategy for you. Let's start firing at the middle of the green. So I was like, okay. So I went down to the Brabazon. As simple as that. Playing great. Went to Brabazon, and it was really windy the first 2 rounds. And blown a hoolie, and it literally it was written out in the stars. And I went out and I tried to fire in the middle of the green. I shot like 1 over 1 under or level 1 under, and I was leading. And I thought, oh,
brilliant.
And then the weather was brilliant going into the Sunday 36 holes, and I was like, oh, shall the old Lloyd come out here and just fire at every flag? But you know what? I stuck to it, and it just lifted that little bit of pressure off me, rather than getting on a par 5 thinking, you know what, I bang a drive and then can get the green, make a birdie. It was just like, you know what, I can actually hit this in 3. Was my kind of mindset shift. And
it's allowed. It's okay to do that.
Exactly, yeah. So, and all of a sudden, I can't remember my numbers, but I was pretty good over the weekend, maybe 5 under, 6 under, something like that, and ended up getting it done by winning by a few in the end. And that was really then all of a sudden.
That's a huge tournament as well.
And really, I hadn't won other than the boys. I think at that time, if I remember correctly, I'd played like for GBI boys team and Scottish boys team. So I was kind of, and I was confident. I knew could do it, but it was just, to then get myself through the line and do it quite comfortably, quite convincingly. I thought that was good, and then that just set off an absolute, the momentum picked up. I went to the St Andrews Links the next week, I think it was, or 2 weeks later. Shot okay first couple of rounds, and then I shot 7 under in this round on the Sunday morning round St Andrews. I had a putt to go 9 under on 15. I remember shot 7, I bogeyed 17. And then shot 3 under or 4 under in the last round to beat Jamie Mole and won the links. Then I got beat in the semis of the British. Then I qualified for the Open, and then I finished 15th to the Open. And then I got in the Walker Cup team, and I was thinking. But what was quite nice was actually the guys picked me to go to Chicago. Peter McIlroy and Garth McGimpsey with a Walker Cup squad. And when it came through that was in the squad, I was a little bit like, oh wow. I was quite not shocked, but I didn't think I was going to get in that squad actually. And it was we travelled to Chicago, and there was maybe 20 guys and we played. And I didn't, that kind of made me think they were looking at me. And I was still, even then, I think I was 19, so I was just out of juniors, and I'd played my first home at nationals. So that kind of gave me a bit of a belief. And then I got picked to that World Cup team. So all of a sudden I was way ahead of schedule. I was thinking, I was meant to do this in 2 years, and I've done it. So wow. Then from there, it was just kind of keep kicking on, really.
And you sort of skipped over it a wee bit. I'd love to dig into what the Open experience was like. So for those that haven't heard your story before, what was that all about that year in terms of the Open?
Well, again, just really rolling on, massive confidence, winning a couple of big events. It was amazing. I won the St Andrews Links round the Old Course, and I shoot that kind of score on the Sunday. To then go and qualify at Scots Craig. I just, it was always in the schedule. Let's go.
I didn't realise you'd qualified, Lloyd. I thought you'd had some exemption. Wow.
I went to Renfrew, and I wasn't actually playing that great that day, and I managed to eagle. I'll forget the holes. There was a par 5 on the back line. I eagled it,
right,
and ended up maybe picking up one more, and that got me. I had to wait all day. It got me in a playoff, but it was something like 8 guys for 7 spots, so only one guy. And I was like number 6 to tee off. And it was a 5-iron at Renfrew. Was it 10? Is it 10th a par 5?
I think so, yeah.
So, and everyone hit the green. And I'm thinking, I'm number 6 here. I'm not. It is, a 5-iron. And I ended up hitting the green. The last guy missed the green and made bogey. So he went out. And I got through, but I had to wait all day. Then I went to Scots Craig and I finished 2nd. With nice numbers there. Played really solid. And literally the Monday morning. So that was a Sunday night. I walked on the Open.
Oh, was that still back in the day when you went qualifying straight to the tournament?
Straight to. Wow. And I walked on the range on the Monday morning. And although on the way through, Dad's like, right, we'll leave at this time. We'll drive through, and we'd only been to St Andrews about 200 times, and they got lost going to St Andrews. And I was like raging, thinking, Dad, how are we lost? I just want to get there and play, get on the Open. And then we got there, and this guy wouldn't let us in the car park, and he was saying, he's playing, get out of the way. So we parked up eventually once I'm nearly running the guy.
That's
over.
A beauty, getting lost in the way of the Open, with the big yellow signs. I mean, come on.
Exactly, yeah. It took us like half an hour longer, but when you're 19 and you're sitting in the car wanting to get onto that range and see all the superstars, it felt like about 2 hours. And then all of a sudden I was on the range at the Open, and that kind of week just rolled really well. But I felt very comfortable, if I'm being honest. I knew my game was good. Was playing well. I was one of those things. I think because I knew I wanted to do that, and that was what I was aiming for. By arriving, it wasn't like, oh, this is a shock. I was kind of in my mind. I think I, almost pictured it and being like, that's where I'm going to be going. So then I felt comfortable. Got off to a great start. I think it was at one stage I was off early, like 6:50 or something. At one stage I think I was 3 under through 7. I was leading with Retief Goosen.
Oh, that's awesome.
That was pretty cool. I kind of faltered a little bit coming down the last few holes, as most do at St Andrews, because it's tough going. And
it's tough back nine.
People
don't understand, Lloyd. I've played it off the championship, and in fact it'll be even longer now. I've played it off the championship tees, and it was probably blown 30. Like the 14th, you can't. People think, oh, you just bang driver down, you're going to have, I don't know, 3-wood 2-iron in. No, you're struggling to get to the fairway. It's so far back.
You've nowhere to lay it up because of all those bunkers. If it's in the wind, now luckily for us that week it was great weather. It was beautiful, but the rough was juicy. Wherever they can have rough at St Andrews, it was like munch. So like when if you're trying to driver up 16 and get far up in that left rough, you didn't really have a shot. And then if you're trying to,
that's a tough hole. 16 looks.
Yeah. Well,
I guess on the card it's kind of like it's quite benign, but you get on the tee and you think, where am I hitting this?
The out of bounds, you can put your hand out to the right, just touch the fence. So then you kind of got to shoot up there if you want to hit that. If you want to hit driver, that's a hard tee shot for me.
Yeah.
And then 17, I hit it actually in the left rough a couple of times.
Everybody does.
Very difficult. Exactly. So yeah, that week just I think I shot 1 under. I was quite proud of my second day because it was quite breezy, really firm. I think I shot a decent score to a nice round of golf to make the cut, and I thought, that was good. Yeah, that was strong. And then Saturday morning you're rolling out thinking, well, this is great. It's a nice day on Saturday. The crowds were all there, and I think I shot 68, 4 under. And then all of a sudden it was like, it's so weird though. I think as you develop as a pro, you get very aware of scoreboards. You look at cuts. You look at who's doing what. And there's not one, even to now, I've not looked, that I could tell you where I was after round 1, after round 2. I was just saying, what will the cut be? That was kind of I wasn't looking at where I was. I didn't look at, I didn't load up a score like everyone has apps and things. And it wasn't until I finished on 18 that they told me. I mean, a pretty cool memory was on 18th tee. I was going out and Mark Crane, Punk, as he's known, who was, has gone on to be a successful caddy on the tours, done a couple of Ryder Cups. Mark and I met at actually my first home at Nationals, and he told me I wanted to be a tour caddy. And we worked together from then. He caddied for me pretty much full time after that, until I became a pro. Anyway, I was on the tee with Punk, and we were just teed off, and we're walking off the tee, and there was a Titleist 9 sitting at the end of the tee on the first, and I thought, Titleist 9. I looked up, and Ernie Els and Phil Mickelson were walking up 18 as I was teeing off on Sunday, and I said to Punk, that's pretty cool. They're finishing and I'm just starting on a Sunday.
Wow.
And I thought that's a pretty cool feeling. That was one that stuck in my mind. I thought feel like I'm doing something here, And then I shot I bogeyed 17, but I birdied the last to just pip a good friend at the time, Eric Ramsey, to the silver medal.
Of course, that's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, so Eric has had a fantastic Sunday. I think he shot 3 or 4 under on the Sunday. Which was not great for me to see when I was about to tee off, but I managed to get it done, which was great.
So there's a lot of you guys, a lot of you came through at the same time at that point, didn't you? A lot of really good players.
Yeah, we had a really good squad, and we won quite a few things, with the team, the home internationals and things. And I mean, they were all older than me, but because I came through quite quick, not like really young, but quickly. All of a sudden, I'm thrown in with George Murray, Richie Ramsey, Andrew MacArthur, and they're probably. I was maybe 5 or 6 years older. Eric's probably the same, but I was with those guys all my amateur career. So when we turned pro, we all kind of turned pro at the same time as well. So it was a great time, and just an amazing week. And then all of a sudden, you were kind of known, and I was doing a lot of press stuff and things like that. I mean, obviously, I think nowadays, if it was in the days of social media, it would have been even bigger because. You probably document it yourself and things, but obviously it wasn't as much then back then. So, but it was just a great week, and then obviously we went to the Walker Cup in September and played over there, which was another great experience. That was the first one. Yeah, first one playing over there.
And what was the Walker Cup like as an experience for you? Just going over to the States?
Yeah, it was big. I enjoyed the States because they were against you. I loved that. I thought, these guys are.
I bet.
And I played. I played a foursomes game. Richie and I played Anthony Kim and Brian Harmon, and Anthony's just come back to go on to the Live Tour.
Wow, that's amazing.
So that was a pretty cool, and obviously Brian's won
when Brian Harmon had here.
Yeah, and yeah, but he had hair. He was still the same size, but he had hair. He was
Aye.
absolutely tiny. But a lovely
Wow.
guy, and that was we played quite well actually. But they just Brian hold a wedge and everything. They were played really well, so they beat us. But I remember playing Kyle Reifers on the Sunday and walking through the crowds, and they were all in the fairways. At some holes, they were allowed in the fairways, and I was right behind the guy, two guys in front of me, and they said, he said to his mate, what's the score here? And he went, oh, this one's done. Reifers is 3 up on Saltman. And as I was passing him, I just looked, and he looked at me, and I went, is it done? And he went, and just looked away, and I thought, no, this is not done now. I'm not having that. But I quite liked that thing, where people were against you, and the crowd they were really cheering, which was great because that's where they should be. But I managed to hold a 30-footer off the green at the last to win one up to keep the Walker Cup alive. Actually, if I'd missed it, it was over. We'd lost. So
I bet you enjoyed that.
By one, yeah.
That's awesome.
Elliot and Zach were at home. My parents were there, mum and dad were there, but Elliot and Zach were at home, and my friends were around, and they watched it on Sky, and they said they were all jumping about when I managed to drain this long putt on the last hole, as I was as well. I was very excited about holding that.
Well, I would say that certainly my experience of playing with you, Lloyd, holding putts is not unusual for you, to be fair.
No, I was pretty good with the wand actually. Yeah, it was one of my strengths for sure. I could
Absolutely.
Get it with the
And so Walker Cup, did you then turn pro quite soon afterwards from that?
No, so I stuck to the plan. Because you know what, people have looked now back and said, you could have went or you should have went, and I could have, but you know what, I was 19, it had happened so fast. I just turned 20 and after that Walker Cup. And to be honest, looking back now, it wasn't a bad decision. I needed to learn more and grow. And all of a sudden 2006 wasn't quite the same year. I still played pretty well, but I didn't really get many big wins. I finished third at Lytham. And I actually, at the end of that year, I didn't get picked for the Eisenhower. I played for Great Britain and Ireland So Richie and I played for GB&I in the Standards Trophy. And Peter McIlroy said to me, Lloyd, who's your Eisenhower team? And I think I'd won the European Order of Merit actually that year. And I said, well, it's not been picked. And he said, well, yeah, you, Richie, and who? Because obviously us two were in the Scot. And I said, well, I don't know. Hopefully I don't know. And I said, well, hopefully I get picked. And he said, well, that's like Ireland not picking Rory, Lloyd. Don't be silly. And then I didn't get picked. I was first reserve. And to be honest, that was quite hurtful because I kind of thought, you know what, I was doing so many good things in my amateur career. I thought it kind of, a selection has stopped me from maybe achieving something, going to an Eisenhower and playing. So, but you know what, it was a great thing because I spoke to Dad and I said, look, I wasn't picked, and he was like, he didn't say, that's a disgrace, or you should have been picked, or like Peter McIlroy, a lot of people were saying to me that I can't believe you're not on that team. He just said, well, if you give them a slight chance not to pick you, they might not pick you. So just go get to work, and we did. And I came out in 2007. We went off to Australia with the Scotland squad, and I think I was third in the Aussie Am, and then I was got beaten in the semis of the match play in Australia. So a nice start, played well, and then I came back, and I think it went Craig Miller Park, Scottish Championship champions, Lytham Trophy, and the Irish Am, and I won all 4 in a row at the start of the year.
Wow.
And then that was it. That was it.
I doubt that's ever been done, Lloyd, with those tournaments.
So for my goal of trying to make a Walker Cup team again, and kind of, in many ways showing that, this is, that was not a great decision, was a bit of fuel for me. There's no doubt about it. I used it to my advantage and tried to improve on things and not let the situation come along where I wasn't, could leave it up to choice. And I think by the end of April, I'd done that, and it was like, well, Colin Dalglish, who was going to be the World Cup captain, had taken, was having meetings with Rory and I and saying, you're not, I can't tell you I've been picked, but what do you guys want is there any wee things you want? And,
what size of shoes are you?
What size of shoes are you? And what kind of shoes do you want in many ways? Which was good fun, knowing you'd already done that. But that was a nice way to kind of to get 2007, and that kind of got me obviously really high in the rankings and things. I think got to number 1, and then when I turned pro, I think I was number 2 when I turned pro in the world. So and that played the Walker Cup at County Down, which was obviously a goal, and then that was
a lot of good players. A lot of good players played there as well, didn't they? DJ, Colt Nost, whole bunch of guys.
Ricky Fowler, Billy Horschel, Webb Simpson.
Oh, that's right, aye.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was an unbelievable team. Kyle Stanley, their team was a joke, yeah. And you know what? But obviously ours was, Rory, Danny Willett. Danny's gone on to win the Masters, and John Parry, which do you know what? Big shout out for John there to do what he's doing now and come back again and win again is amazing to see. He's a great player, nice guy as well. So that was impressive to see recently. And we had a good team. And I enjoyed it. Not the greatest of weeks for me. I played, I finished off playing against it's terrible. The brothers, what they called them. Oh man, it'll come to me. Playing against the two brothers who played in America and they had a sister as well. Trip Keeney.
Oh yeah.
Played against Trip Keeney and I beat Trip Keeney on my last day as an amateur. I beat him 2-1 or 3-2 or something. Played pretty well and then turned pro the next day. That was that.
Wow.
End of the amateur days, which was great. It was great fun, great times.
Yeah, and then you turned pro. So what was the process like there, and how did that experience go in the early days?
It was good. I mean, it was literally the next day. I flew to all the boys went out. We went all partied at Walker Cup. Rory and I were flying to Oxfordshire the next day to start the Q school first stage. Had to go first stage of Q school, and I think the nice thing about golf now is that that's starting to change.
Yeah,
because, we went to first stage, played practice rounds together. We're having meals, and mum and dad came over, and obviously all of a sudden you've now got a bag with your name on it. Well, you had that in the World Cup, but like it was your sponsored bag. You were starting your sponsorship stuff and things like that. You were wearing your logo clothing, so it was a change. And I think I finished sixth at the first stage, which was good. And then all of a sudden I went to second stage, and I think I missed by 1 or 2, and then all of a sudden that was when it was like, all right, I thought, because not to be honest, I don't think there was one part of me thought that was going to happen. It was just all of a sudden like, oh, I've just signed my card and I've not got through. And I'm like, all right, okay, but yeah, does that mean I'm going to go and play? And there was no, there's nowhere to play. What are you going to do? So that was a kind of eye opener, to be honest. And Dad was managing me, which was great. That worked really well for us. And he'd got mum on board to help as well, and they were brilliant. And when you've got somebody, that support system which I'd had coming through, all of a sudden it wasn't just like, right, see you later. I've still got them by my side, advising me well, looking after my best interests. Yeah, and Dad said, look, and he'd done a lot of research. He was like, look, you need to go to Asia. And I was thinking, I don't really want to go to Asia. And he's like, well, the Q skills come up, you need somewhere to play. We've got starts, I've got invites, but you need to go play. So went over to Asia and I got 12th card or something, and I got my Asian Tour card, but I only played 3 times.
Right.
Because I came back and one of my starts on the Challenge Tour, Andrew MacArthur won. I lost to him by 1. I finished second. So I knew I had status the next year, and that was quite big. So I thought, then I got an email through saying, do you want to go to play whenever? And I was like, no, you're all right, I'm not going back. So I didn't go back to Asia, and I just stayed and played off my starts. So I had some major starts, some Challenge Tour starts, and played that. And managed to play myself into like the China and Kazakhstan, which were like top 100 from invites. And then obviously next year I had ranking. So that was how my kind of professional career kicked off, really. And then, and then I played Challenge Tour for a couple of years, just trying to keep improving, really. Was never that comfortable with Challenge Tour. Felt like it didn't really suit my game. Bang driver, hole putts. You were playing against guys who were short and pitched and chipped well on courses that didn't really require hitting good long drives and things, and found it quite difficult sometimes to not compete, but like I just didn't feel as comfortable. And then eventually, 2010 it was, I think. Yeah, went to the Q school and managed to, the most grueling experience of your life, get through. I had to go to all 3 stages that year, actually, first, second, and third. And I ended up getting 8th card, I think, at the school.
That's no mean feat doing that. That's incredible.
No, and it was just Zach caddied for me at the finals, which was amazing. He was always big. He was great for those sorts of occasions. And got through, and all of a sudden I had the tour card, and that's when I almost felt like, got there, I've got my card. Because it was something I was wanting to do for so long. And with having tasted playing invites and things and having played them as an amateur, played in the Open, it was like, I'd played in Elliot and I'd qualified for the British Open at Turnberry in 09.
I was going to say, actually, so is it 3 times you've qualified
played
off your own back for the Open?
Yeah. Three final stages, So
and that was the Tom Watson year, of course, as well.
Yeah, and he was only about 3 or 4 groups behind, and the crowd and the noises we're playing was unbelievable.
Wow.
So yeah, it was a pretty special for him anyway. We canvassed the cut. I struggled a little bit. The weather was horrendous in spells, and it was just a pure grind that weekend. I just didn't have my best stuff with me. But again, a good experience going as a pro and doing it that way rather than bulking up. So It was good. And then obviously just getting my tour card was a really nice relief, really. You know, I could, you know, the last 3 days you're rolling on about 3 hours of sleep because you can't sleep. You phoning mum and dad at home, they're saying, you know, I started really well and you're dropping out a little bit. You've maybe shot one over and you know, how are you? And I'm like, oh, I can't sleep. Keep thinking.
I feel like I'm going to throw up every hole.
Yeah. And you know what? I went to the toilet. Saying that, I went to the toilet in the morning of the final round, and Antiakos, left-handed Finnish guy, same age as me, played all the events I was, you know, playing. Anti was a nice guy, and I went into trap 1 or cubicle 1, and he went into cubicle 2, and all I heard was him retching everywhere, spewing his guts up. And I thought, well, to be honest, I kind of thought, well, that's him out, so he's not gonna. And I mean, obviously, I was nervous, but I managed to get through, and you know, that time phoning home and just saying, look, Mum answered, and you're doing really well, and I said, yeah, I'm just not feeling great, but I'll chat with Mum, and then his dad there, chat with Dad, and said, you know, I'm struggling here, like as in, I can't sleep, and he was like, well, why would you think you're going to sleep? Why are you not going to think? Of course you're going to think about it. So just
of course,
go to bed, don't sleep, get up, do what you do best, and you'll be fine. And he was, and you know what? I slept like a baby that night after him saying that. So it worked whatever he said. So it was a great time. That was a really memorable week, and obviously Elliot got his tour card that week as well, which was incredible. And I remember coming past the scoreboard on 18. So I was coming through 9, but the big scoreboard's at Clubhouse, and Elliot told me this after. So Elliot had got to the back 9. He was right in the bubble, and I was trying so hard not to think about what he was doing. I just thought I just need to get my own world, and just, you know, focus on me. And what past the big scoreboard, it didn't look right. I just kept going, and I went to the 10th tee. I thought, I don't want to look. If he wasn't doing well, I'd be gutted. If he was doing really well, I'd be thinking, right, come on, Elliot. And I thought, I can't.
You keep moving yourself.
Yeah, so I was like, focus. And then I came round. When we came in, I was waiting for Elliot, and he did it. He hit a great shot in the 9th hole with like a 5-iron. It was unbelievable. And when he came in, he said, oh, Lloyd, I walked past 9. I stopped. I looked for your name, and you were going well. And I thought, oh, if Lloyd's doing it, I've got to do it. Come on, I can do it. And I was like, I didn't look, Elliot. I could not look. So
sorry, bro.
Quite different, yeah, in that sense. So I just said, I didn't want to know what you were doing. I had to think I was being selfish. I was thinking about myself, nobody else. So it was a good week, you know, to then finish and go for beers and sit. And you were so exhausted and think, just got a tour card, you know, we just achieved what we've worked for so long, or part of what we had worked for, because we wanted more than that. But yeah, it was a cool feel. It was nice.
Yeah,
it was time for the family. Yeah, great time for the family.
Yeah. And then Lloyd, from there though, you've sort of changed your focus in recent times, and you're coaching a lot more now. So can you talk to me about how you've developed into that part of your career and what's changed for you?
To be honest, I think obviously everyone wants to play. That's the facts, and we want, you know, when that was what I set out to do. There's no doubt about it. I wanted to be as good as I could be. I wanted to be a tour player. I wanted to win majors. I wanted to be as good as I could be. And as things went on, there was a couple of decisions and things that happened. You know, I remember Muirfield was a bit of a standout at the Open. I was struggling with my long game badly,
right?
With my driver especially. And for me, I was kind of renowned. I was typically good off the tee, very good off the tee, and I would putt well in my long.
Very well known for it.
Never that great with a wedge or a sand wedge, but I managed to kind of just avoid putting myself sometimes there. You know, stay away from your negatives. So, and then I played with the Titleist guys at Muirfield, and I took them to Archfield for a game. And then they were like, we need sort of this driver, Lloyd, it's not going. And I'm like, I'm struggling with driver. And I'd qualified round Musselburgh, Moncton Hall, where I am now coaching.
Yeah.
People as well.
Oh, you're that's where you're coaching?
Yeah, I'm at Moncton Hall. Yeah. So it's great. You know, so nice memories there, as you know, already going back there. But I'd hit 5 drivers, and I think I'd lost 4 of them in the 2 rounds. So Steve Tiley won. Tyrrell Hatt and I were second to get through a shot, I think 6 under for the 2 rounds in rain. And I'd hit 4 drivers, I'd lost 4 balls. Five drivers, I think I lost 4 balls with driver. Couldn't drive it. And you know, I was still working with Brooksy, who was incredible, massive part of my development. A great coach, literally taught me to, you know, go on the golf course and do a yardage. You know, it's not just about playing golf; it's all the other things. He was brilliant. You know, turned me into.
Is that Andrew Brooks up at Braid House?
Colin Brooks. Yeah.
Colin Brooks, sorry.
And he was fantastic. I mean, a massive. There's no way I would have got to where I got to without his help, for sure. And at that time, I was really struggling. And Titleist were trying to fit me. I was like 4 degrees in the downward driver, and they were saying you're 4.4 degrees on track, man. We can't really give you any. You've got a 7.5 degree driver with heads. And I was looking at the swing, and I'm like, I'm kind of laid off at Open. I'd never really been there, and I'm thinking, what are we going to do? And it was kind of a bit at that time. I thought, I need to find answers. I'm struggling here, and
Yeah.
it's it's dent your confidence. You're struggling to play. I'd finished, I think, 5th on the Challenge Tour the week before the Open, and before I went to actually qualify at Moncton Hall. And I drove round. I remember driving round into the course with Lloyd Kennedy, and he was like, "Oh, for God's sake!" And this wide open course in Austria, and I was thinking, "Oh, yeah, beauty! This is for me this week." And I shot 800 in the first round, and I had a chance to win the tournament. Played with Dylan Fratelli in the last round, and he won, and I finished 5th. But I could drive it anywhere, So and that was kind of the story of it. Everything else was all right, but that position where I was in the driver, I couldn't fix, or I wasn't trying to fix. I was just kind of trying to control rhythm and things. And I thought, you know what? So I ventured off for the first time in my life, and then I went to see Alan McCloskey and started working hard on the technique. And that kind of gave me like the insight. I really wanted to learn about the technique. I wanted to understand why I couldn't do that, and why was I not great with a wedge? Why, rather than just being all of a sudden the person who focused on playing, performance only, shooting the numbers. I got into it. And then, to be honest, the kind of faults I started to make, I just went on the range and just pounded but more balls than ever, but not in the right way. I was just trying to hit positions, film it, hit positions, and I couldn't transfer that to the golf course. If I overdid a move, I could hit it left. If I underdid it, I could hit it right. I was kind of just posing everything, and all the good things I was doing previous to that were kind of starting to drop away because you're not really putting as much focus on it as you were. Because I'm thinking, if as long as I can get this good, I'm going to be away again.
Yeah.
And you know what? That was a fault. And then I started searching about other coaches and things, and just trying to get better. And difficulties, as I got older, I was still trying to do it. And I was still putting in some performances. I was still doing fairly well in the Challenge Tour. And then you get to a point. That time I was like, do you know what? I'm walking on the range here, and I don't even know what I'm trying to do. And I was always a grinder. I was always a guy who would work hard. Was kind of known for that. And then all of a sudden I'm thinking, I'm on the range here for 3 hours, and I walk off and I've tried 23 things, and tomorrow I'll probably try something different just to try and hit it.
Or that must have been so.
Just try and improve. Yeah, and it's difficult.
Must have been so tough for you.
Yeah, and I think that's where you kind of realise that you think, that's where I kind of got the good feels for coaching. I thought, you know what, use what I have, and I fell into that because at that time, even then, I was still want to play. But we used to ride a bit motocross, Elliot and I. We grew up, as I say, on the farm with bikes, and there's a track local to us at Fenton Barnes. I was going out the bike. Everyone said I was mental, which is probably true. But I was, it was my best getaway from golf. Was going away with Elliot in the van, and we'd get the bikes loaded. And when you're hitting a jump or going round a corner in a rut, and there's 20 bikes around you, you're not thinking about your backswing, that's for sure. So it was one of those. I kind of thought this is my way out of kind of my step away. Even at home with my wife, and I'd had my son by then. She would know when a tournament's come up, I was quite quiet and thinking about next week or thinking about last week. I could step away. But then I crashed at a corner and ruptured every ligament in my right knee. And
oh my God.
I was 11 months out, knee brace, full operation, took my hamstring and reconstructed an ACL through my kneecap for me. But you know what? If I'm being honest, if I look at it then, I actually was like, you know what? I wasn't even like, oh my God, I need to be playing. I was like, all right, I'll just deal with this because, so I couldn't play. I couldn't play for 11 months.
My goodness.
Yeah, so that was a tricky time because obviously I'd never, I didn't even know what to do myself. You're just like, well, I need to. So in fairness, I rehabbed just basically full time, like I would do my normal day of golf. I just rehabbed. So I got back and I came back strong. But then at that time, I think I was one place out the order of merit for a medical in one position in earnings or no, I played one event too many, and I was one position out the order of merit for any sort of medical. So I had nothing. So I dropped to nothing. So I had to go to Europro. Oh. And that was kind of out because all of a sudden Europro was good. There was boys there coming through. Previous to those years, you'd maybe have 20 guys that were really good, 30 guys, but then all of a sudden you have most guys. You're thinking, this guy, who's the guy that won last week? Who was it that won last week? Because you don't even know who they are, and they're just really good young kids coming through. So it wasn't it's not an easy ground to play on. And I'd been out, as I say, I'd been shot for 11 months, and then trying to build up through winter, start playing Europro, and I kicked on, and I got better again, and I was kind of doing all right and kicking on. And I just kept playing from there, just really trying to grind it out. But again, searching kind of for who am I going to work with, what am I going to do, trying to find the answers, and that just becomes difficult. And then it got to basically a point. Played Paul was brilliant, came along. Paul Rory put his tour on. I think a couple of years ago I played at Renaissance and I shot 9 under on the second round and got myself in a playoff with Danny Young and It's terrible. Memory's shocking. And anyway, I made a 2 in the first. I buried the first extra hole in the playoff to win Paul's thing. And those things you think I can still do this. It's still there.
Yeah, of course. You
But
never.
it's a massive.
Never lose it.
And then all of a sudden, I'm not 25 and just leaving my girlfriend to go golf. You've got a lot of things going on, and really what comes down to is the desire. Do you want to do it? Do you want to do that anymore? And you know what? I'll never say never at the moment, but at that time I started coaching about sort of 5-6 years ago, doing it on this on the side. People kept asking me,
right,
never look at me, will you do it? And so I started at Naissance. I coached for Naissance and said, can I coach you? And they said, yeah. And I was playing representing there, and they were brilliant. They were so supportive of it. Lloyd, if it helps you play, do it. So that was great.
Jerry
that's
and
great.
Billy,
Jerry Savary and
really
Billy down there. Yeah, they were brilliant. So I did, and I built up, and you know what? I was enjoying that, and I was enjoying helping, seeing, passing over knowledge, not just, because I can help, I'll help the guy who's never hit a shot before, and I'll help the guy who's got a 20-yard slice, but also for people to speak to good players and say, this is what I did, and that doesn't work. Do this, or just give your experience and my knowledge, and obviously.
I think that's really powerful, Lloyd, and it's interesting when you were talking at the start. And you spoke about going to like Prestonfield and Kilspindie. Kilspindie didn't have a practice area, so you literally learned how to play golf on a golf course.
Mm-hmm. And you know what?
When you were a kid,
I've listened to my dad a bit more than perhaps I should have. I think every kid will say that because he was absolutely, and my mum, they were absolutely amazing. It's massive parts of my career. It's just, so you gave us so much and the opportunity. But he would always say every time I was on this range working, trying to fix this swing, he'd say, get on that golf course and go play. And then he would say to me when, later on when I was going away and practicing myself, he would be with us a lot when we were younger, and he would set up tasks and things. And you know what? I kind of realised that as well later in life. I thought, I'm great when someone tells me to do something. If, my dad was there, he's like, right, Lloyd, you got to do this task. And, and he would all say, your percentage is good. That's fine. You've done well to that. Like, I'm not leaving till I achieve it. But he'd be like, no, come on. But when I was working on the range, he was like, get on the golf course. Go play. Go shoot 6.
I think
and then he would say,
it's interesting though. It's easy for any golfer, but I think particular golfers who are trying to play some level of competitive golf, and I mean at any level of competitive stuff, it can easily become an obsession to just try and find answers like you talked about.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I did this today in the golf course, and this is going to make me better. But actually, the problem was, you weren't really thinking very straight on that hole, and you forget the fact that your brain's fried before you stand in the tee. The fact you've winged at 50 left has got nothing to do with your golf swing. It's because you've been thinking about something 3 holes previous you haven't let go of, right?
Exactly.
It's crazy.
What the thing is, I think I worked with Zach. He was the last person I worked with my golf swing. And I said, Zach, what do you think? And he said, well, Lloyd, you've tried to hit this move for so long and you can't do it. So why don't we just better what you've got? How about that? And I thought that's actually exactly what I should do. So I worked, and that's when I won Paul's thing. That's when I won Paul's. I was really improving there, actually.
Yeah.
And then Zach went off to Dubai to coach. And I said, so he left
Nightmare.
me. He went away. So I was sending him swings, but then the thing is, I was left up to my own devices. So I was trying another 236 things while I really should have just been working on the one thing. But again, going back to exactly what you're saying, and Dad would say, you've got a tournament next week or it's coming up, and he's like, towards the end of when I was playing, and I was you can see I wasn't enjoying it as much. And he was saying, unless you can go around Craigielaw and you can shoot 6 under around your home course that every blade of grass, what chance you got next week if you can't even do it at home? So go do that. Go shoot 6, and then go shoot 6 again, and then go shoot. And this is what we used to do.
See if you can get to 7. See if you can get to 8, get to 9, like you've done all your life.
And this is what we used to do. But then I'm now, oh no, I need to fit. This coach has told me if I can get this good, then I'll be like this. And you're thinking, do you know what?
Yeah.
It's all. I think
I need to lower the ball flight, my 5-iron by 15 feet. Let me work on that for a while.
Because the guy, there's nobody on the tour that doesn't hit 70% of fairways. Well, there are, and I think that's the big thing. And I think for me, Brooksy Colin was my Bible for golf. So what you told me to do, I'm doing it. If you said, Lloyd, go and stand on one leg and tie your arm behind your back, hit balls for an hour, you'll be better. I'd say no problem at all. And I'll tell you what, I'll do it all day and I'll be better. Then I'll be really good. And Dad was the same with that stuff. But then obviously as you get older, you think, I know what I'm doing. I know the game. I know what I'm doing. And there was certainly an element of that. If you think to yourself, there was parts of that you think, he was right and saying, but it's difficult to do that because you go on the first team, flare it in the right bushes, and you think, well, how am I going to shoot 6 under hitting that shot? But it's not about that. It's character building. It's about, you know what, manage your game, go play, learn that stuff.
Yeah, the more
things like that. It's
even
not just
playing, and for me personally, I'm nowhere near, like, I'm a light years away from the level you can play at, Lloyd, but I certainly get caught up in practicing in inverted commas too much. And now I tend to just go and play 9 holes. And from the start, I play 1 ball, and that's it. I'm not hitting 2 balls anymore off the tee. I'm not dropping another one if I have a bad shot.
Yeah.
I just go up, play 9 holes, and I judge. What's the right phrase I should use? I don't judge my enjoyment by what I score, or I try not to. And then I judge how I'm playing by what have I actually scored for 9 holes. Not, oh, I had a great shot here, I had a great shot there, or my swing was bad in this hole. And I found it really refreshing, actually.
Absolutely.
I think I've realised I've been lost for the last 20 years in practice. But
well, I think you're talking about every golfer, to be honest, Ross. Everyone's lost.
It's true.
Play this
it's
game,
so true.
Lost. And I say this to the people I work with now as well, and I say that, like, just, when you're out there playing, you've got to, everyone's trying to pose positions and work on positions, and and it's actually, you know what, I would say to them, when I some of my lowest days when I played felt like I scored my best wasn't when I hit it my best. I could warm up and think, oh, gee, I'm kind of leaking this right a wee bit this morning. And then I get the tee and I get into my process and I play, and all of a sudden momentum kicks in. You make a birdie. You might even hit a poor shot in the first and hole a 40-footer. And then all of a sudden you birdie 2. And you think, you think, shotty under out there. Geez, I'm leading this golf tournament. And didn't feel like I was great, actually. And how many days you work and you rip it.
That day you shot 9 under at Archerfield, you weren't thinking, where's my backswing position here?
No, Renaissance,
Renaissance, sorry. You're just thinking, how many more birdies can I get?
What? I was just trying to. I was actually playing quite well, and again, what was happening was that first round, I shot like 1 over, and I came in and I was, as I always did, phone Dad after the round. I said, "How'd you get on 1 over?" And I said, "You know what? Playing really well, and it's driving me nuts because I can't score." And he's, blah blah. And did you shoot 6 under yesterday at Craigielow? And I was like, no. And then I went out, and all of a sudden, momentum came, and all I was thinking about was trying to win that golf tournament. All I was trying, and even though it was miles back, I just thought it wasn't that easy conditions. I thought once I got going, I thought I can win this, and then I'm just like, right, go, give me a chance. I'm going to try and get it. So that was something I was always pretty good at. If I had a chance to win, I could get it done. Or
absolutely,
most times.
I've witnessed that personally, Lloyd. When you were, I think you were about 16 when you got stuck with me at Dalmahoy for 36 holes. But
was it as young as that?
Yeah. When you were standing over I think when you hold a putt, it was like the 12th hole to go 5 under, and I'm thinking, I think this guy's got a decent chance of winning this tournament today.
That was funny when you said that, and I said I can't remember anything of that day, and you told me what I'd scored, but I remember your shot. So.
Oh yeah, me whacking it off the hotel. Yeah, that was interesting.
And that actually shows again a flaw. I think, in especially Scottish people, is we don't like to remember the good. We like to really remember that bad stuff. And
to be fair, I did make 4 after hitting it off the hotel at Dalmahoy in the old 18th green, which was quite impressive.
Very impressive, actually. I was actually putting my yardage book for the next time I was going to play. I thought that's maybe the way to play this hole.
The shot for 50 yards is wing it off the hotel, nearly kill somebody in a wedding. Never mind the guy standing round 18. So yeah.
So it's and then the opportunity. So when I was coaching there at Renaissance, really enjoying that. That came to an end as they kind of changed stipulations, and they just said, look, it can do it anymore. And then Martin Hush, who's the head pro at North Berwick, who's a friend of mine, he's a great guy, Martin. He gave me the opportunity to do it at his studio at
brilliant.
So he has like a fitness studio, and the guys use it for coaching. They've got Trapman set up. It's a great facility. So I took it there. I took all the guys I was coaching there, and I did that, and was kind of working away. And then it was Norman Hughie who I've known since I was a kid from playing Boys Opens. He's local to our area. I saw there was an opportunity there, and I kind of thought, you know what, am I going to keep playing? Am I not want to? Do I want to play? And I spoke to him. I just thought, you know what, I'll give him a call. It's Norman. So I was just like, Norman, it's Lloyd, how you doing? Chat like that, basically. And he was like, yeah, come and see me. And we did. And then I thought, you know what, I'm going to go to this because I do enjoy it. It's not like I'm thinking, because there's a million things you could do, in this world. It's enough. I could just step away from golf, as many of the good players have. I just thought, you know what, I still love the game. It's given me everything in my life and so many good lessons. And I thought, I'd like to start. I remember what Brooksy meant to me when I was a kid, how much he helped. So if you can do that, then help people and give back, and that can be my career. Well, then that's where I'll be now. Not to say I'll never not play again, and who knows what future holds. But I'm 39. As my wife keeps reminding me, she keeps saying I'm 40, but it's not till September. But she keeps telling me, "Oh, you're 40," and I'm like, "No, I'm not. I'm 39." So
almost.
And almost. So
40's the new 30, Lloyd. That's what they're saying.
Thanks.
Yeah, that's what they're saying.
Thanks. So I'm kind of like, I don't know. Would I play again? Maybe, but you've got to really want that. And at the moment, I'm enjoying coaching. I'm enjoying giving over knowledge. And you know what? Even just helping people, and you talk about things, it kind of brings back a memory. And you think, oh yeah, I did that. And you look at some good players. Sometimes you think, when they're standing there talking to you and trying to explain, and they're hurting, you think, I've been you when I could not see the truth.
It's crazy. I mean, it will be crazy for people listening to this to think, here's a guy that can shoot 900 round Renaissance, and like so many other people who are so good, be walking down the range with a head full of broken bottles at times. It's crazy.
Oh yeah,
absolutely crazy.
Yeah. And you know what? A lot of time now when I'm coaching, I think I'm going to get a chaise long and put it in my studio, the studio up at Monk's.
Just lie down and just
they just want to come in, and they just want to say, some, especially the good players. There's a guy springing to mind just now, and it's literally like, can we just chat for half an hour first? And I just want to basically tell you what's going on in my head. And I'm like, yeah. But you know what? The amount of times I sat down with mum and dad or my brothers or Colin, I remember when I was on tour, saying to we always used to go for a Chinese lunch at the end of the year, and he'd sit down and he came in and I was ready. I was full guns blazing. I was ready to go, and I was like, right, I need to change this, I need to change this, I need to change this. I went, You sat, just nodded. Yeah. Okay, no bother. And they just slid this bit of paper over the table, and he went, there's your stats for last year. So if you hit half a green more, make one bogey less, and thinking you'd be 50th. And I went, and he went, so do you want to change that position, this and this and this? And I went, oh, maybe not actually. I'm pretty sure I could maybe hit half a green more. But obviously you have to improve these things. But you walk out again, feel like King Kong, thinking, I'm that close again. All right, here we go again. And sometimes that is as important as, well, you're right armed out of position.
Yeah, because
that's more important.
As golfers, people tend to think they're so far away. They actually need reminders of how close they are.
Exactly.
In a positive way. Because you think the world's falling away, this, that, and the next thing, and you break it down to, do you know what? If you could hold one more putt around and miss one less fairway, or not hit it in the hay once every 3 rounds, then you'd be fantastic.
Massive. One shot around is 4 shots a tournament.
Yeah,
that's big. And you know what? That's what I'm saying with the coaching stuff side of things. Is for me, it's kind of getting that over to a lot of people rather than just saying, you know what, that's our position. Whenever I filmed my golf swing, what did I look at? All the things I hated. And there's many things that are good there. And I would say this, what about that? What about that? And then the person coaching goes, yeah, but look at this and look at this and this is what, work on this bit. And I say that to so many, they make so many improvements in front of you, and they go, my right finger's hovering off the club a wee bit, I don't like that. And I'm like, geez, I've been you.
Do you enjoy,
just trust me.
I was going to ask, do you enjoy saying to people now what you doing hitting driver down that hole?
Well, this is the thing as well. I think great going to Moncton Hall because I do a lot of on-course stuff with people now.
Good course. It's good test, isn't it?
Open qualifying golf course. It's very strong off the back. It's a good, strong parkland. And it's always in good condition. They do a great job up there.
And I guess, can you do like sort of little loops of maybe 4 and 5 holes as well? And it just connects up?
We just jump in the buggy. So I'll just go, I'm not walking nowadays. That's enough for me. So I've done enough walking the golf courses. So I'll jump in a buggy and just say, right, guys, we'll go till time's up. Or
some brilliant
holes.
Yeah, brilliant golf holes.
Hit a shot with. Yeah, that they can't hit a shot. I'll say, let's go to the 12th tee shot because that's going to make you uncomfortable. And I'm going to get you to hit 20 balls off there. So it's just, but going out, you can't believe you probably can, is some of the mistakes people are good players are making out there because they just don't know. It's just because they've not been taught it. Whereas I was taught, so I understood it, and then I put it into practice, and then it showed with results and performances and all these things. And I think that nowadays I didn't have to contend, luckily, with YouTube and Instagram swings. I didn't have to compete with that. So you know what? It's big market now.
I was talking to Gary Nicol the other day, and I was saying that actually I've played with people, and I can't get caught up in it as well. We all do, but just folk that they're kind of really, really struggling to even score at all, and I'm talking way over 100. And then it's like they've got this latest tip, and I'm going, no, seriously, what are you thinking about? Just hit the ball. Don't. Oh, I've got this part of my backswing. I need to move this part of my leg, and that.
I had a guy in yesterday. He's like, Lloyd, I want to. So I'm working this, trying to shallow it. And I said, all right. And I said, why are you trying to shallow it? And he went, well, everyone's trying to shallow it, aren't they?
Everyone. You're not. It's cool. It's trendy.
You're not steep. And he went, And he said, well, no, I don't feel like I was going to block it or hook it. I said, well, just forget that. Let me tell you what you need to work on. But you know what? As I say, playing out on the tour all those years, and and then Challenge Tour and all these things, it's a different environment to be an amateur, and all the lessons you learn, and the good things, having chances to being in contention on tour and playing in front of big crowds and all these things. It's all a process that just gets learned. You just learn these things, and if somebody can help you with it, then you're going to become a better player. And if, you obviously experience is massive, but if someone's already there to say, you know what, see if you do this in that situation, you're going to have a better chance than the guy next to you.
Save you a lot of time and a lot of heartache. A lot of time and heartache.
Yeah, you don't have to just go through it all yourself. You can. There's people out there, and I was very fortunate that I had that with Colin, and especially mum and dad and my brothers, and we were all there for each other, so it was easy. It was also made it difficult because there was never a week where everyone was happy. You're coming home and you're kind of half celebrating because you've done well or won, and then somebody's missed a cut, so you're kind of like, no, I don't want to do too much because he's not very happy, or because everyone used to say to us, well, I take it you're trying to beat them every week, and I'm like, do you know what, we're playing 156 guys. There's enough people to beat other than them. I want them to do really well, and as long as I'm just slightly beat them, I'll be happy. That's enough for me. But it's just a great game, and I'm enjoying where I am just now with the coaching, and just kind of working away at that and growing it. And as I say, this has been quite interesting. I did a bit of radio I was up at the Scottish Ladies Open and the British Open. A friend of mine asked me to go and help with a girl that he knew. She was looking for somebody over here because she had sat caddy, undecided with coaching things, and basically came over and I caddied for her in those two events, did a bit of work with her. But I got invited to do the radio with Di Stewart and Sophie Walker.
Nice.
Which was cool. It was cool. I enjoyed that. And then obviously like doing this today and things is, things, and people keep saying to me, you need to put out videos, like, we like the way you teach us. So it's simple, and put some videos out. But I'm thinking, I don't mind, when I got interviewed, how was your bat nine, or how did you play? That was a great shot. It's easy to do that. But when you're standing in front of that camera trying to make your own content, I'm a bit like, no, I'm not sure that's for me.
Okay. Just a bit of practice, Lloyd, you'll be fine.
No, you're probably right. So I don't know. But, I'll maybe dive into that a little bit more. But certainly just now, the coaching's going well. I've got some kind of quite a good couple of young people coming through, and I'm just enjoying helping people with the golf swing. And for me, I don't want to sound this, but it's easy at times because that's all I know. It's all I've done. So you know what?
And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, it's a great talent you've got.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. So but it's been good. It's been good up to now. As I say, we're still young, so who knows? The clubs might come out.
Absolutely.
If I decide that I'll give it all, because for me, Norman had said to me, "Why don't you go and play? Enter a few Paul swings?" And I said, "Norman, me doing a Friday afternoon practice and I've hit a few balls on a Wednesday and try and go compete to finish middle of the field or whatever is not for me. It's I'm going to play to try and win, or I'm not going to play." So I've kind of always been that way, and I, that's,
and you can still play to enjoy it in the meantime, right? You can go to Craig Lawn, try and get that 6 under in.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, that's it. I'd probably still phone home and say so. But generally, most times we play now, there's about 8 of us, and there's normally a couple of cans in the bag and stuff like that. We play like a pro day. That's normally we come out someone's pro day or something and have a beer while you play. Or
I'm sure that's not on your coaching plan for your elite
players
as well, Lloyd.
But once you've done that, you can now, as my dad said, don't do as I do as I say. That's the way to do it. So it's been good fun. So
absolutely. Well, listen, Lloyd, I don't want to keep you too long. You've been really generous with your time. Thanks so much. So if people want to reach out and catch up with you and get some guidance from you and sit on the couch and tell you their woes. How can they do that? What's the best way to get in touch?
So I've got my Instagrams under just Lloyd Saltman. I've got a Facebook page for my coaching, which is Lloyd Saltman Golf Coaching. So that's probably the easiest way. So they can just send me them that way. Or if they want to, they can contact the Musselburgh Golf Club, Moncton Hall, and just phone in there into the pro shop, and we can take bookings over that way as well. So, but yeah, I'm as I say here to help. I've got guys who never hit a golf shot and women, and then I've up to guys who are playing professionally. So we're here for everyone. If anyone's wanting some help, I'm happy to help.
Fantastic. Thanks a lot, Lloyd. It's been great having you on. Great hearing about all those incredible journeys you've had through your life. So thanks so much.
No problem at all, Ross. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening, everyone. I'm sure you enjoyed hearing from Lloyd. I loved the insight that he gave into how he progressed, the tournaments that he got through, some of those experiences that he had, and for example, the Open Championship at just such a young age. So loved hearing from Lloyd and really want to thank him for coming on the show. In terms of the upcoming shows, please remember to like, share and subscribe to the podcast, and I'll have another episode out soon. Thanks very much.